Hello students of class 9. The other day we have seen that the Swamiji had come to the rescue of the narrator. He had shown impossible acts, and his last act was his masterpiece where a road engine was to be driven over his chest. He needed a road engine. He asked it from the municipal chairman. He could not give it. Then the narrator volunteered to lend his road engine on condition that the assistant of the Swamiji would drive it to any place wherever the Swamiji wherever the narrator wanted. Soon the whole gathering was at the compound wall opposite the gymkhana. Swamiji's assistant was an expert in handling engines. In a short while, my engine stood steaming up proudly. So everybody had gathered to see that impossible act of Swamiji. And they had gathered in the ground opposite the in the compound wall opposite the gymkhana, and this assistant had started the engine. That's what it says, that my engine stood steaming up proudly. That is, the assistant started the engine. It was a gratifying sight. Gratifying means it was a very satisfying sight for me. I felt very relieved. The Swamiji called for 2 pillows, placed one near his head and other at his feet. He gave detailed instruction as to how the engine should be run over him. He made a chalk mark on his chest and said, "It must go exactly on this, not an inch this way or that." The engine hissed and waited. The crowd watching the show suddenly became unhappy and morose. So, the assistant had started the engine, and the Swamiji had laid down, and he had put pillow, 2 pillows, one pillow over his head and one at his feet, and he had made a chalk mark and was giving detailed instruction to his assistant as to how the road engine should be driven over his chest. And he said that you've got to be very careful. You must mark this the chalk mark that I have made. It should go exactly through that area, not even an inch here or there. So everybody was very excited. But all of a sudden, they became very sad. Why? Because they thought, what would be the outcome of this act? Because it involved the risk of Swamiji's life. So that's why they became unhappy and morose. Morose means sad. This seemed to be a terrible thing to be doing. The Swamiji lay down on the pillows and said, "When I say Om, drive it on." So the Swamiji instructed the assistant that once I chant the Om mantra, only then you drive the engine over my chest. He closed his eyes. The crowd watched tensely. Yes, they were very fearful of what could happen. I looked at the whole show in absolute rapture. Rapture means excitement, and finally his troubles were coming to an end, and the road engine would be driven to his home. After all, the road engine was going to get on the move. So at this point, a police inspector came into the crowd with a brown envelope in his hand. He held up his hand, beckoned to the Swamiji's assistant and said, "I'm sorry, I have to tell you that you can't go on with this." So when the engine was about to be driven over the Swamiji's chest, then a police inspector came with a brown envelope in his hand and said that, "I'm sorry," and beckoned. Beckoned means called the Swamiji's assistant and said that you can't drive this engine over his chest. and I'm sorry, this act cannot be shown. The magistrate, that is the lawyer, means the judge, the magistrate has issued an order prohibiting means stopping the engine from running over him. Swamiji picked himself up. There was a lot of commotion. Means there was a lot of chaos and noise. Okay, because the Swamiji was lying on the ground, and when he saw that there was some that is kind of an argument with his assistant and the police inspector, then he got up. The Swamiji became indignant. Indignant means angry. I have done it in hundreds of places already, and nobody questioned me about it. Nobody can stop me from doing what I like. It's my master's order to demonstrate the power of yoga to the people of this country, and who can question me? So the Swamiji was very angry, and the Swamiji said that the court cannot just give an order in this way. I have done it in hundreds of places. That is, I have done it many times, and nobody has ever objected to me. So through this act, I want to show the people the power of yoga. So this is a way through which I am spreading the message of my master. It's the duty that I have been assigned. So nobody can stop me. A magistrate can. So a judge can. Said the police inspector, and held up the order. So he showed the order. What business it is of yours or his to interfere in this manner? I don't know all that. This is his order. He permits you to do everything except swallow potassium cyanide and run this engine over your chest. You are free to do whatever you like outside our jurisdiction. So the inspector firmly objected and said, no, a judge can give orders, and no matter what you think, two things you cannot do. You cannot swallow potassium cyanide, and you cannot drive a road engine over your chest. And you can't do this within the jurisdiction, that is within the area in which falls under the court's purview. Okay, that is area within which the legal power can be administered. So outside that, you can do anything that you like. I'm leaving this cursed place this minute, the Swamiji said in great rage, and started to go, followed by his assistant. I gripped his assistant's arm and said, you have steamed it up. Why not take it over to that field and then go? He glared at me, shook off my hand and muttered, with my guru so unhappy, how dare you ask me to drive? So the Swamiji was very disgusted, and he left that place that very minute. And the assistant also followed him. But then, this narrator caught hold of the assistant's hand and said that you have already, started the engine. Why don't you just drive it to the, field on the other side? That's it. I don't want more than that. And, he just, released his hand from the narrator's grip and said, you are asking me to drive the engine? Can't you see my master is so angry? He went away, and I muttered, you can't drive it except over his chest, I suppose. So, muttered means, to speak in a voice which is not very audible in that sense. So, he just said that, okay, I think you can only drive the engine over your master's chest, over Swamiji's chest, and nowhere else. I made preparations to leave the town in a couple of days, leaving the engine to its fate. Engine to its fate means I was not bothered anymore what happens to the engine. However, nature came to my rescue in an unexpected manner. You may have heard of the earthquake of that year which destroyed the whole towns in North India. So there was a severe earthquake that shook the whole of North India and destroyed. There was a large scale devastation, destruction. There was reverberation of it in our town. Reverberation means the vibration, that is, the effect of it was felt in the narrator's town also. We were thrown out of beds, out of our beds that night, and doors and windows rattled. So, kind of, the Amphan-like situation. Next morning, I went over to take a last look at my engine before leaving the town. I could hardly believe my eyes. The engine was not there. I looked about and raised a hue and cry. Search parties went around. The engine was found in a disused well nearby with its backup. I prayed to heaven to save me from fresh complications. So the narrator had decided to leave the town, but then there was a severe earthquake and it shook the whole of North India. It destroyed many towns. The effect of it was also felt in the narrator's town. And the next day when he was about, means he had decided to leave, but he just wanted to see the engine for one last time. But he saw that the engine was not there at its original place. Then, he started shouting and people went around searching for the engine. Then it was found in a disused well. It had fallen on the mouth of the disused well with its back up. So again, the narrator dreaded, that means, now the owner of the well will again put some more charges on me. But the owner of the house, when he came around and saw what had happened, laughed heartily and beamed at me. But, the reaction of the owner of the well was quite opposite to what I expected. He was rather happy. You have done me a service. You have done a great thing. It means you have helped me in a great way, service. It was the dirtiest water on earth in that well, and the municipality was sending notice to close it week after week. So this owner of the well had been receiving notices from the municipality very often to close the mouth of the well. Why? Because the well contained the dirtiest water on earth. I was dreading the cost of closing, but your engine fits like a cork. Just leave it there. So he says that I was afraid of the huge cost that it entailed, and so I just left it that way. But now, when the engine has fallen on it, I see that it's just like a cork. Just like we have a cork of a bottle. In the same way, the engine has come and got fixed on the mouth of the well. And he said that just leave it there. Don't try to take it off from there. But there are no buts. I will withdraw all complaints and charges against you and build that broken wall myself. But only leave the thing there. But so the owner said that no, I will not listen to anything. You just leave the engine there. I will withdraw all the complaints against you, all the charges and complaints against you, and I will also build the broken wall myself at my own expense. So you need not worry. That's hardly enough. I mentioned a few other expenses that the engine had brought on me. He agreed to pay all that. So this owner was so good, owner of the well. When the narrator mentioned that no, I have incurred many other charges because of this engine. So the owner also agreed to pay that. When I again passed that way some months later, I peeped over the wall. I found the mouth of the well neatly cemented up. I heaved a sigh of relief. So the owner of the well came as a savior for the narrator, and he was saved from all his troubles, so he did not leave that place anymore. And after a few months, when he passed by that same place, he saw that the mouth of the well was, properly covered, and the wall was, it was covered, and seeing that, he was very relieved. With this, we come to the end of the chapter. Thank you.